Welcome to the show tonight. Chiefs insider Steve Willis. Steve, how are you tonight?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man. Not much. How was your Thanksgiving, Steve?
It was actually really good, really good. A lot of food, a lot of football, a couple of naps afterwards. We were ready to rock and roll though for Sunday.
Yeah, we ready to rock and roll. Let's get right to it, Steve. So we have an AFC Championship rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. And obviously, last year, the Bengals beat the Chiefs in both of their matchups last year. In the regular season in Week 17, the Bengals beat the Chiefs 34-31 at Paul Brown Stadium. And then in the AFC Championship game last year, the Bengals beat the Chiefs 27-24. And the Bengals overcame deficits in both of those games last year, Steve. So I just got done talking about the game, and I believe that Joe Burrow, for whatever reason, has Patrick Mahomes' number. So what are you looking forward to in this matchup as we see this AFC Championship rematch Sunday in Cincinnati?
Okay, so first let's take a quick look at the last two games that the Chiefs and the Bengals have played. It was a tale of two halves in both games. Kansas City came out absolutely on fire in both games, and as you said, they ran up big leads in both games, and then they went into the locker room, and it was almost as if the Chiefs came out in the second half and just completely forgot how to play football, especially in that AFC Championship game. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that, and you noticed that in those games. Number one, the Bengals, they saw what the Chiefs were trying to do, and they were able to make defensive adjustments to stymie the offense. And then on the flip side, they were able to make adjustments versus the defense, and most of that was because the pass rush was not necessarily there.
Yeah.
Not without blitzing anyway. And if you blitz Joe Burrow, it's very similar to blitzing Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. They're going to make you pay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs for 1 second, because this year, being very different with the pass rush, you have a healthy Frank Clark, which Frank Clark in both of those games was not healthy. He was fighting through a neck injury, and he just wasn't himself. Chris Jones is comfortable on the outside and the inside. Remember, last year they were trying to put Chris Jones on defensive end, and he was struggling a little bit with his technique. This year, playing the edge position, Chris Jones is probably one of the better pass rushers in the league. The Chiefs did not have an answer for defensive tackle last year when Chris Jones was on the edge. This year, Mike Dana is showing that he is definitely somebody who can be reckoned with in the middle. Not to mention, they now have the addition of Carlos Dunlap.
Yeah.
And that experience, along with the energy they have on that front seven, they can rush four and get to the quarterback, which is something they really could not do last year. Now, the other part of the Chiefs' defense that will help is you now have Trent McDuffie. You now have a healthy defensive backfield, and it's going to be a much better matchup.
Yeah,
with all of those talented wide receivers that the Bengals have, and yes, they're getting them all back. So, and this is going to be, that's going to be one of the big key matchups right there, is how these wide receivers are going to do on the outside versus the Chiefs defenders. Are they going to be able to hold them man to man long enough for that pass rush to get there? I feel as if it is possible, and we are dealing with a Bengals offensive line that has gotten a lot better throughout the course of the season, but at first they were a little discombobulated. That is
Agreed.
A new offensive line.
Yeah.
And Steve Spagnuolo loves running stunt packages, double stunts, over-unders, things with four guys that can really confuse and really frustrate offensive lines that have communication issues. So that will be a focus in this game for the Chiefs defensively. Now, the Chiefs offensively, the one thing the Bengals were able to do that really stymied Patrick Mahomes in the second half of that AFC Championship, they would drop 8 guys, rush 3, drop 8.
Yep.
The Chiefs did not have an answer because they weren't confident running the ball. Not this year. This year is going to be way different. Isaiah Pacheco is coming off of back-to-back 100-yard games. That is unheard of for an Andy Reid-led Kansas City offense to allow a running back to rush for 100-plus yards a game. Well, the Chiefs are doing it.
Yeah.
They just this past weekend against the Rams, they came out and that was a very business-like approach. They ran the ball, and they made sure that the running back got a good taste of what was going on. They even brought Ronald Jones in the mix, and his first active game day appearance, and they ran the ball. And they're showing the rest of the league, hey, we're going to be able to run the ball. So if you want to rush 3 and drop 8, that's fine. We're just going to hand it off and run it down your throat.
Yeah.
So now the Bengals are going to have to rethink, and I'm sure they're looking at that film too.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to see a lot of those 3-man rush drop 8 business like what we did in the second half of that AFC Championship game.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, though, Steve, what I'm looking forward to the most is the trash talk between these two teams. I mean, when I listen to the Chiefs when they play the Bills, I hear Patrick Mahomes complimenting Josh Allen and Josh Allen complimenting Patrick Mahomes. When they play the Ravens, I hear him compliment Lamar complimenting Mahomes. Honestly, I think these two teams do not like each other. I believe that the Chiefs, they feel as if the Bengals ruined 2 things for them last year. One was the number 1 seed in the AFC, because you remember the Titans got the number 1 seed last year in the AFC. The Chiefs wanted that number 1 seed and that first round bye, and they wanted the road to the Super Bowl to have to come through Arrowhead in Kansas City. But when the Bengals beat them in week 17, that did not happen because of that loss. And then I thought that in the AFC Championship game, because the Bengals overcame an 11-point halftime deficit, that ruined Patrick Mahomes' opportunity to win his second Super Bowl. Steve, that was a chance for the Chiefs to get back to the Super Bowl and win again. And then earlier this week, I don't know if you saw this, but the safety for the Chiefs, Justin Reed, he was on Twitter trash talking the receiver for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, who's going to return back to the field for this game. So honestly, I'm interested in seeing these two teams, trash talk amongst each other in this matchup at Paycor Stadium Sunday afternoon. To that, you say what?
Well, first of all, don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes has already gone on record to say he has a lot of respect for Joe Burrow, and he loves his work ethic and all that. So he's saying all the right things. That out of the Chiefs press conferences since Sunday, when they had their post-game press conference versus the Rams, you have heard nothing but all we can think about is the AFC Championship game. We're going back to that game. We're looking at that film. So it's been on their minds.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, they won't admit it because when you get bulletin board material, they have had this game circled on their calendars since the schedule came out in July. We all know it. Everybody in Kansas City knows it. Everybody inside GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium knows it. Everybody in that Chiefs organization knows it.
Yep.
They have had this game circled. They know that this is payback time. And the one thing that really seems to be the fire that really gets Patrick Mahomes going is disrespect. The potential of disrespect. Like, all he has heard in the offseason was the Bengals got you guys.
Yeah.
They got you twice. And so this is fuel for Patrick Mahomes' fire. And all the distractions are out of the way. Patrick and Brittany had their baby yesterday, actually.
Okay. Congratulations.
And so their son, yes, congratulations to them. Levon Mahomes
Breaking up a little bit, Steve. Breaking up a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that.
I can hear you now. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, Patrick Bronze Mahomes the third. So that distraction is out of the way. He doesn't have to worry about anything else. Just focus straight on football. And what a time to focus going into a rematch of what was just an absolute dumpster fire of a game for them offensively.
Yeah, for sure, man. And honestly, two more questions for you, Steve. I got to get out of here. But honestly, I look at Patrick Mahomes. I've seen Mahomes beat Lamar Jackson. I've seen Mahomes beat Justin Herbert multiple times. I've seen Mahomes beat Josh Allen. I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes beat Joe Burrow yet. And honestly, I think that is also going to be some motivation for Mahomes in this matchup, because I think there's mutual respect between Mahomes and Burrow, but I believe Mahomes wants to prove that he is still the undisputed best quarterback, not only in the AFC, but in the NFL overall, and he is the leading candidate for MVP honors, because I think Joe Burrow, honestly, Steve, he's creeping his way into that MVP conversation. He's been playing well over the last 4 weeks, especially in the absence of his star receiver in Jamar Chase. I think Patrick Mahomes wants to kind of send a message to Joe Burrow specifically.
Well, he would. It would be easy to just say, well, Patrick Mahomes just, he needs to get that one on Joe Burrow. But see, one of the great parts of the Mahomes versus rivalry is he's traded blows with all of the quarterbacks that he's played against. Even Tom Brady, he lost to Tom Brady and beat Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, he has lost to Justin Herbert and beaten him. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. The same thing with every quarterback, every great quarterback he's being compared to right now.
Yeah.
Except for Joe Burrow. Now that does two things. Number one, it's going to fuel Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
The other thing it's going to do on the other side is eventually Joe Burrow, having not lost to Patrick Mahomes, you got to ask yourself, how soon before Joe Burrow starts kind of taking for granted that he's going to beat Kansas City?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got their number every time.
Yeah.
Why am I worried? We beat them every time. Well, as soon as you start thinking that, David becomes a little stronger and Goliath becomes a little more nonchalant. So you kind of have to watch, the attitude there. And Joe Burrow is kind of known for having that excessive amount.
Yeah.
And that can tend to bite him every once in a while. So the biggest thing to look at here is the fundamentals. What are the Chiefs going to go to? What are the Bengals going to go to? The Chiefs are going to go back to the tape. They're going to say, what did we do wrong? How do we fix it? This is something that Kansas City has done every time they've lost.
Yeah.
Every time they've lost big. Every time they've lost small. They go back to the tape and they say, what did we do wrong? How do we fix it? And they do it. And they fix it. So you see the next time they roll out there, they're like, we aren't going to screw this up again.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the motivation on Kansas City's side. The Bengals, they are going to start getting their swagger back because they are getting all their pieces back in place. And they started out rough this year. That offensive line wasn't doing them any favors. Joe Burrow was making mistakes. It was easy to dismiss the Bengals. And now they've come roaring back. Yep. And they're 8-1 in the last 9 games. They look phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great game.
I agree.
No matter what, it's going to be a great game.
And real quick, Steve, I want to say this too, because I thought also in the AFC Championship, like real quick, I don't know if you respond to this. I thought the play of the game was before the end of the half when the Chiefs were in the red zone against the Bengals, and they had an opportunity to score a touchdown and go up 28-10 instead of being only up 21-10. But they also could have kicked the field goal. And I think Andy Reid wanted to kick the field goal. Mahomes waved him off. They tried to go. I think they tried to throw like a screen or something to Tyreek Hill. And I don't think Eli Apple was very good, but he made a tremendous play on Tyreek Hill on the last play of the half And I thought that saved the Bengals, because if you go down 18 points to the Chiefs, I'm not so sure that Bengals team is going to be able to overcome an 18-point deficit compared to an 11-point deficit. So that you say what before we get out of here?
Well, we absolutely said the same thing in Kansas City. If that play was made, what could the Bengals have done that would have ripped their heart out, going in the locker room down 18, and that big play being made that also elevated them going into the locker room. So it did the exact opposite. And it's one of those moments that you can't really quantify how big that would have been if it swung the other way. And yeah, Andy Reid probably did want to, he'll never admit it, but he probably did want to kick the field goal there. And he is known for giving his leaders the levity they need on the field to make decisions. And generally, Patrick Mahomes makes good decisions. In that particular case, it may have not been the best decision. Everybody in the world knew that he was going to go to Tyreek Hill right there. And that's why Eli Apple was there, Johnny on the spot to make a great play. So it's one of those, if they had it back, could they kick the field goal? They probably would have. But at the same time, if you have 15 under center and you only need to get a couple of yards, I'm taking my chances with Mahomes.
I agree. And I would do the same thing with 12 under center for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers. I would do the same thing with him, because you got to trust your quarterback in those moments. Real quick, Steve, before you get out of here, give me your prediction for Sunday's game.
It's going to be a tough game. I can tell you that. The Chiefs are a 2-point road favorite. I'm going to have to go with what Vegas says here. I've got Kansas City winning 28-27 in a squeaker, and I think it's going to come down to a field goal at the end of the game by a well-heeled up Harrison Butker.
He's Steve Willis, Chiefs insider. I appreciate you coming on tonight, Steve. I'll definitely bring you on probably next week and talk some more Chiefs football, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's great to talk football with you. You guys go find me on Facebook at Social Media Steve.
All right. He's Steve Willis, the Chiefs insider on Wise Guys. I appreciate Steve for calling into the show tonight.